Hello and welcome to the Work Hates podcast. I'm Bron Lewis. This is Bretty Blake. Everyone has a nightmare work story, whether it is a shitty boss, a dreadful workplace, or an insufferable colleague. If you've had none of those things, chances are you're the problem.
You are the problem. Today we are joined by comedian, actor, and suburban footballer Tom Siegart. Yes,
you little beauty, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Great setup.
We've been
here.
chasing you for months. Finally the schedule has aligned,
Yeah,
and
have
you've
aligned, and yeah.
it's very good.
Yeah, I'm excited. The Suburban Footballer.
Oh yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. I love it.
No,
So I've never seen the Suburban Footballer. I've seen you do comedy a lot of times, but I have never seen you do the Suburban Footballer.
It's very niche. A couple of people have convinced me to do it outside of a footy environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's horrible. They just they just look at me like what's he talking about? They're such in jokes.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So like you'll do this at a footy club.
Correct.
Okay, but if you took it to like the Comics Lounge, they would hate it.
It would be horrendous. Even once I did this, it was a Carlton meet and greet.
Yeah.
So it was all AFL fans, and you would think even AFL fans would like it, but it's actually you have to have been involved in a local footy club to get it. It's about it's about the showers and the nicknames. And this gig was 400 people. Just looked at me like,
oh no,
when's Stephen Kernahan coming on? This
It's
is
got to be
horrendous.
zone 3. Zone 3 and beyond, then you're fine. It's like when you call it's like you know, footy days, soccer days, like, yeah, good on you, big nuts. But if you call anyone big nut, they're like, what the fuck? I'm like, it's a dude, chat fun.
Yeah.
No, I look like a creep.
So you
I don't
need
actually have big nuts.
So you need context. So context is the only place of that, where that character works.
Oh, 100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So, but at a footy club, it goes great.
Yeah, because you travel a lot with.
I do.
Footballer.
I do a lot of country gigs. Go interstate. It is good. It is very Australian,
Yeah,
and
you
even
couldn't take
Australian.
it.
It's very Victorian, Tassie, South Australia, Queensland.
I feel
so.
like me and you are in the same mix for gigs. Like there'll be a poster of you up, and then me a year later. You know what I mean? Like we're walking a very similar path. We're big in the country. The country crowd like city, not so much. I go okay.
I did Tom's your own football club's gig there on the
Caulfield Bears,
it was grand final weekend. I went there, it was great. I was in the car park when I turned up, and I was like, I don't have any football gear. I don't have any material about footy. And I was worried that you thought I did, and I was like, fuck, I don't know what I'm gonna. So I was like, I'm just gonna have to try and feel this out. But they were lovely. They were terrified. They were all like pressed up with all along the wall.
Let me guess, fluoro lights all on.
Yeah. Oh, it was the middle of the day. It was fine.
Big white tables that are huge.
But I was like, come down, come on. And then a few people sat in the front, and it was actually one of the best gigs.
Yeah,
it was so much fun.
Footy clubs aren't. A, they're not what they used to be, and B, they aren't what an outsider's perception would be. I think sometimes people think they're going to walk in, the player's going to be punching on in the corner, there's going to be a stripper on the table, and
everyone's the good old days. Am I right, boys? Am I right?
I did turn up in the nude. It didn't go off.
But it's but there's as many females around clubs now because of the netball and women's football. They're responsible serving of alcohol. Like if they lose that, the club's fucked. So they really have to keep an eye on responsible serving of alcohol. A lot of it's about men's health, and so they're not what they used to be.
There's family photos all around the club. Tom's in most of them actually. Were you in charge of those photos?
I'll put the photos up.
It's all of me with my shirt off. Hell yeah, dude! Why not? Ladies love it. I did one. I love doing footy club gigs. It's always a good vibe, and a little trick is always trying to find. Everyone's got nicknames. You got to figure out what the nicknames from before I start, so I've got something to play with. But we did one out in Toowoomba. It was about an hour out of Toowoomba, and they're like, mate, come down. We'll have like 100 people here. It'll be great. It's going to be a fundraiser. Man, the night's going to support off. I get there for like an hour early, start drinking. They give us a jersey. I'm like, it's going to be the best night of my life. No one rocked up to support the club, besides the captain and the bartender. And then we're like, we won't do the show. And he's like, well, no, the show's on. We're doing the show.
Oh my God.
So I did it to him. Me and Nick Cabot did it to him. And then the bartender but the bartender only had one arm, so she couldn't even clap. It was the roughest gig ever. She was just doing those ones back there, and I'm like, fuck, do we have to go on? Yeah. Because we said to him, was like, we'll do you a solid. You don't have to pay us. It's okay. Or give us just a fuel or whatever. Yeah. No, but the gig's still happening. I'm like, so then you're paying us, are you? Oh, you see we didn't have to pay. I'm like,
they wanted you to do it for free.
God. Yeah.
Because that is the one negative of a footy club, because everyone's chummy. And I make sure I've got this little poster that I send them beforehand, and I said, the moment I give this to you, put it on your socials as a save the date, because all it takes is one guy to put his 21st on the night of a function. And you're cooked. You've lost everyone.
Yeah. Well, Brady and I just did one in the country. Thank you. You loaned us all of your equipment for that.
Yeah,
it was great. Yeah.
She was
really
an old
changed
girl,
it.
that missing desk, but when I figured it out, she fired up like you wouldn't believe.
Well, I need a new mixing desk. Because I'm down to, I think there's 5, what would you call them?
Channels or
channels,
whatever.
and I'm down to 2. So they're slowly working, they're slowly burning out.
I couldn't figure it out. I was like, I'm pretty sure I got it right in bronze. Like 8 of the channels don't work. Only this. I was like, okay, and there was and then it just fired up, and I was like, hell.
And it was great.
Major overkill for what's required.
Yeah, and heavy as shit.
But we had so Brady and I, we'd given the town no notice of all coming. We'd kind of decided to a week before, but we turned up, and the town's got, I think, like maybe 2,500, 3,000 people. There's nothing going on ever in that place ever. Like last time I did a gig there, I said, "Oh, do you ever have comedy or ever have like performances here?" And he goes, "Yeah, we had a magician once." And I was like, "Okay, all right. I don't reckon this is going to be much good." But then when Brady and I did it, it was like not very many people came. We were like, "Where the fuck are they?" They're like, "Oh, because the footy was on this weekend. Wasn't even that day. The footy was on this weekend, and so they're all probably recovering from watching that."
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Was that the gig at the golf club?
Yeah,
because it
was a bonfire.
There was still heaps of people there, but then I was like, when we went home, there was just 80 guys around because they finished their football season, so they just had a barrel of fire near the river, just sinking cans. I'm like, fuck, we could get in here.
Yeah,
guys,
exactly. They would have loved it.
You can't compete with that.
You can't compete with a barrel of fire in a fucking river. Are you kidding me? You can throw shit into the fire. It's awesome.
So, Tom, with this podcast is about nightmare work stories, and I have to
kind of
ask.
told us one before the podcast started about the DJ.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, you'll have to. So, but can you guys tell us again the story, a dreadful experience you had when you were a DJ and you stumbled upon a review? Can you tell us about that?
So when I first moved from the country, I've always worked, and I still work. So from the age of 16 to now, I've always worked full time. And when I first moved from the country to Melbourne, I did an apprenticeship as a dental technician. I did orthodontics. I used to make little like false teeth and sleep apnea devices.
What?
I'd not have picked that.
Strange.
No, it was literally the first job interview I went for, and I didn't even know. I didn't even know what it was, and I went.
You still don't?
No, and I got.
You're still confused.
But
for 3 years.
I got badly ripped off because I was meant to do a 4-year apprenticeship, and it got to the end, and my boss was saying, "Mate, you don't need to do that. I'll give you this stuff to do, and these forms to sign, and you'll get to the end, and you'll have your qualifications." And I got to the end. And he hadn't done anything. So I did 4 years and had no qualifications, and he hadn't paid my super, hadn't done anything.
And you're on apprenticeship wages?
Yes. So I
God.
I could have been digging holes. I was on $180 a week and working 50 hours a week. And
so how did he get away with that?
He's just a con artist, and he's done it to lots of people. And
but you got great teeth, dude. So
you do have great teeth. Did he help you with your teeth?
No,
you've always had good teeth?
Always had. Oh,
so you got nothing out of it except for $180 sometimes.
And it was like we used to. So you know the alginates that people and alginates that you know that rubbery shit that you bite into at the dentist. So I used to be the one that would get those, pour the plaster in, and then we would have a plaster cast and we'd work on that plaster cast. So you'd never actually see people. You'd work on the plaster cast, and quite regularly I'd pick up a bag, no gloves, no nothing, and don't worry, I've been tested since, and it would have "Be careful, HIV" written on the.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
And
be careful.
As long as you know.
Yeah.
That's half the battle, isn't it?
That's
See that
pretty,
needle on your arm? HIV. As long as you know now, it's fine.
And
Be
nothing
careful,
was
Buck.
ever, there was no OH&S, nothing mentioned. We'd just be careful.
And this is in Melbourne. What suburb?
This is, we're in Hampton.
Hampton. What a scumbag.
But
Oh, it
also,
was,
what were you
Is
doing
he
with
still-
the molds? Were you in there like just practicing?
oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, yeah.
Kissing the teeth.
You got it. Oh, yeah.
So you must have had it. So was DJing your side
Oh,
hustle?
yes. So I was so broke. I
Yep.
remember I signed up living at home allowance. I used to get $80 a week from the government, which
Very good.
I used to apply for each time. So I would only get it every 10 weeks, get $800, live like a fucking king for a weekend, and then
Yeah.
I'd be broke. So instead of,
I could have put it to rent, but you know what's better? Railing coke, dude.
and I did DJing on the side for this company called Moby Disc. And if you're thinking DJs, if you're thinking Fisher up on a
Yeah.
on his decks, lower your standards. I literally had CDs. I had 2 car Discmans on this plank. And there was this
Backed up with the floppy
this
disk,
little,
just in
this
case.
little,
Yeah.
this little swipe up that if it was that way, it'd be on that disc, and then I'd swipe it across at the end of the song, and it would go to that disc.
Oh my
and
gosh.
it was
Amazing.
It was the lowest form of DJing, and quite often a girl would come up. Oh, I'm going to go talk to the DJ and make a request, and they say, "Have you got?" And you just see them look down and just go. And then you'd see her go back to her friends, and it'd be so depressing. And she'd be talking to her friends like, that cockhead's just working off car discounts. And I'd just be
I've
like,
got Metallica or John Farnham, cunt. And like those old catalogs used to give you free samples, and whatever I got from Skit Smith's Volume 9. What do you want, mate? Ministry of Sound? I don't have it.
But could people give you requests? Well, you just had 2 mixed CDs.
I had the biggest stack of burnt CDs, and they used to give me every month. They'd give me the latest burnt CDs. It was all so. They used to charge $320 to get this to book me for 3 hours. I used to get, I reckon, 90 of it, and it was just so shit. And I used to have to wait for a long song to go to the toilet. So
I didn't do a shit.
And I'd
Wait, does Mozart go for 17 minutes or something?
And I remember once going, I said, I've got to go to the toilet. Something along American Pie or something. Popped it on, killed the dance floor. It was And anyway, so I'm off to American Pie. Come back, the song's still going. My shit is just lying. Someone's just leant on it and knocked everything over, and everyone's just standing around in a circle looking at my pile of just of car Discmans and just shit everywhere. It was so embarrassing. I remember the first time I did it. They gave me 3 trials. So I'd go out with someone else, right?
Yeah.
Someone else from Moby Disc.
And the guy's like, mate, you think DJing, you're going to get fucked? You are absolutely not. Look at this setup. It is awful.
Oh, well, this guy was the biggest loser I've ever met in my life. And it was a wedding, and it was a lot of islanders. And they were just sitting on their tables, big blokes drinking beer. And he was sort of this real dorky, sort of computer-looking guy. And I said, he goes, not many people do this, and Moby Disc don't tell you to do this, but I've found that people really like a live element to
Amazing. Yes, they do.
To performance, and not
We
just,
do. We love it.
I want it right now.
And
I want to see
and
it.
I was like, okay. And then he goes, I'll show you. For once people get dancing, I'll show you. And anyway, so his second song, and I'll never forget it, Kylie Minogue. Remember, na 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 na.
Yep.
He pulled out. He got a mic stand, so he's obviously gone and bought his own mic stand.
Yep.
Put the microphone in. He had a tambourine and went chink, chink. And I was just standing beside him, and there was 100 islanders just going, is this guy fucking serious? It was the most appalling thing I've ever seen. And I said, I just got to go grab something from the car. And I just sat in the car until it was over. And then came back. And he was still...
Brother, you're on $90 an hour. You're not... Why are you humiliating yourself? They really... I thought you were going to say he turned the music down and just started singing. I was like, no one wants that dude.
Oh, it was so bad. And they used to charge an extra $150 for us to MC a wedding. Like, a good... Knowing what I know now, it's thousands of dollars to get it good. We used to, an extra $150, no training. No training.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any extra money. They just took an extra 150 and we'd...
And emceeing's stressful, man.
I did it once and it was just, I had no idea what I was doing. It was the worst. And now, let's hear it for the lovely...
Oh, no.
And it was...
I've been to a wedding where the MC was obviously a hired help, like just someone, his suit didn't fit him. He'd obviously borrow, like someone would just like, wear that, mate, and just go. His name was Craig, and he got up, and the wedding was beautiful. Like it was so nice. They'd spent all of their money on everything but an MC.
Yeah.
And they could have got anyone. Just like the uncle
Everyone's
Steve.
got one mate with a bit of spunk. He doesn't have to be funny.
Nah.
He just has to not cock it up.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyone would have been better than Craig because he got up and he was so nervous and he was kind of the mic was either too close to his mouth or too far away. So the whole time everyone was like, "Fucking Craig, stop!" And then he'd pull it way back. And then it would be like, what? Like, it was just a nightmare from the start to the end. And I think that, like, I was like, there's no way he would be getting paid very much money.
We had an awesome one in Hawaii. For Mike's wedding,
would have.
he was so fucking funny. They just randomly got this dude, and he would like music, and then he would like roast someone, and then like fade up the music. Like he only did like 5 or 6 enough.
Yeah,
killed it. Great introductions. We're like, man, we got to get this guy back. He's hilarious. He's killing it. Like to comedians as well. We're like, we love him. And then we invited to the after party. Worst idea ever.
Oh, really?
Biggest spanner. Like fuck. He was only good on the mic 5 times. He was a tough hang after that. We're like, get this cunt out. He wouldn't fuck off. He was hitting on everyone's wife and shit. It was awesome.
Oh, Craig. He's there. He strikes again.
But what you were referring to is after a gig, you had to wear, even if I did a 21st, I would have to wear a white shirt, a maroon silk vest, and a maroon bow tie.
Oh my God, that's what you want. That's what you want the DJ to wear.
And I just said, well, I don't think I actually said it, but I just thought I'm not doing it. Like I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
And but after a little while working, I got a wedding, and I was given a wedding, and anyway, so I had to wear a white shirt.
A wedding dress.
I'd never had to wear a wedding dress, and I just didn't own a white shirt, and as I said before, living off nothing.
Yes.
Every cent I've got is going towards booze and going out, and so I bought the cheapest white shirt you could possibly find.
You could hear it.
I reckon it was Op Shop. I reckon I found an op shop in Hampton.
A cheap shirt in an op shop.
In an op shop. And it was just like a white garbage bag. Like it was just plastic. And I wore it, and they would give whoever would book you, whether it was 21st or whatever, a bit of paper, like just a bit of feedback that they could give back, and you could anyway, so we had once a year we'd have, I wouldn't say it's a Christmas party, but it was all the maybe disc DJs would go out and have a bit of a lunch, a bit of a barbecue at the boss's house, and it was a loser fest. It was it was tough.
Was it a great house? Was this where all this money's going?
Yeah,
it must be nice.
And anyway, so they had some of these forms and some of the feedback forms, and I obviously wasn't meant to get this one, and it was for the wedding I'd done a little while earlier, and it was did the wedding, so I knew what they were referring to. Tom was a nice guy. He played the request, which was great. And then any other comments, and it just said, Tom stunk. He stunk. And I remember just thinking, and like they still didn't know, they didn't know I'd seen it. And then at the end, they got everyone in a group, and they were talking about different things, and you should do this, try this, and they said, and just carry deodorant with you, and they said just have it with you, and give yourself a couple of sprays. So not specifically to me, and I was just thinking that's for me. That's for me.
I bought a plastic shirt and I sweat through it. This is not my fucking fault.
Well, of course you're gonna sweat if you go tamperine the whole time.
You're tamborining away. I mean, you learn from the master.
Well, I had a drum kit and a few other things. I was breakdancing, and that really added a live element. It was
guys, I'm playing Metallica, but I'm actually going to I've turned the drum down on the track, kind of check this, just missing it. Oh, fucking hell. It's a little bit out of tune.
So these two jobs are so bad that you've already explained. The dentist one with the HIV and that ripped you off blind, and then this DJing one where you stunk.
Yep.
That's on you, though.
Are they your? Is one of
just
them
one
your
night,
worst?
not the whole job.
Yeah.
Just one night.
I don't want this PR going out
enough.
that I actually stink. It was one night and a plastic shirt.
But is that your worst job? One of them your worst job? Have you got a worse one?
I've worked at abattoirs.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
You got to walk us through that.
So pretty much it was a rite of passage in Wodonga. You would work if you were down the footy club, you would get a job at the abattoirs if you were looking for something to do. If you hadn't excelled after high school, which I certainly did not.
Okay.
So
I'm straight to the abattoirs again. Okay, good to know.
To the abattoirs, and I don't think you could prepare yourself for walking through the door of an abattoir. I mean, you know in your head what happens in there.
Sure.
But walking in there for the first time is the most confronting thing, and it was rough as fucking guts. Like it was, there were bikies, there were two.
Yeah, they're not doing police checks in there.
No. It was and everyone is walking around with
A knife.
Not just a knife, the sharpest knife. You basically sit there in your spare time and sharpen. And
how horrible.
Yeah, so I had a friend. I worked there for a little bit. You'd walk after. You'd be driving home looking like a serial killer.
Yeah.
Just covered in blood in your ears. It was brutal and rough. And then you'd sit down at lunch. Just sit down in the lunchroom, eating a meat pie with half a brain hanging off your shoulder. It was full on. It was
I love that, working in an abattoir, then still eating a pie.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you've got quality meat out there and you're still getting the fucking shit that's going down the drain.
Yeah, it was. But I had one mate who they couldn't sack you for not being able to stomach it, and he went in and they opened the door and he basically just went and threw up and. Oh, we'll try him in the packing room. And he just threw up. And so they took him to this dark room. And looking back, he said, I don't even think it was a job. But they had these bags that he would have to stamp. And he'd stamp the bag, move it over, get another bag, stamp the bag. And they reckon he did that for 3 days and then just said, I quit. And they said, all right.
Thank God.
So they basically just would put you in this room. It was dark. And he would just have to stamp these bags. And he said, I don't even think they were using the bags. I think it was just going
through the rubbish. Stamp the rubbish, mate. Thank you.
What?
Thank you.
Why am I putting it in the bin?
Don't worry about it. Don't ask
just
questions.
Stamp the fucking bags.
I mean, I've never worked in an abattoir, but I can imagine the sounds wouldn't be great.
Well, the animals, do they come in dead or they come
You're bolting. Did you bolt them in the head, then neck them?
Yeah, it was very... So the cow would come in, and this is... Like edit the shit out of this, but it happens.
That's where our meat comes from. You need to know.
So the cow would come into this little cage thing, and a Aussie guy, and I say Aussie, you'll find out soon. So a local would come in and do the little gun to knock him out, and it would be dead, and then a Muslim guy would come out running from behind this wall with a knife.
Running?
Yeah.
Why is he running?
Oh, I don't know. I guess
for a dramatic effect?
Just to get through as quick as possible, I think. And the Muslim would cut the throat, and that was because it was so it could be Muslim killed. So so they could sell. Yeah. And if the stun gun or whatever you'd call it, if that drew blood. I forget how it worked, but a guy would come out and stamp it as non-Muslim killed, non-MK, and it was because a non-Muslim drew the first blood. It was all quite interesting. And I remember getting the tour. This guy Percy, who had about 2 fingers left, he'd been there for about 40 years, and he's given us the tour. And he goes,
check this one out, boys. This is the lunchroom. That's where all the shit goes.
Yeah. So he'd worked there forever, and he goes, this cow comes in here, and he goes, every now and again you get a real fucking jumpy cow, and it will get over the barrier, and he goes, I don't know why, but they just go fucking mental. And he goes, and he goes, and then someone will hit the alarm, and that'll go off. So he said, so if you hear the alarm, just run for your life. So get under there, just hide, because these cows, they're going fucking crazy. And I'm like, do you reckon it is because they have just witnessed the death of 20 of their mates, and they know they're next? And it was brutal. But luckily I was in an area later on that it didn't feel, it was already like a steak. it wasn't, you weren't seeing the cow. So luckily you would slowly work your way up, which took me all of about 3 days, which...
it wasn't hard to beat old fucking Three Fingers over there.
Percy.
Three Fingers, no eye. Yeah, I reckon I'll take this guy down.
Yeah.
So
CEO
you had to do it. You had to work there. Oh, it's just like a rite of passage.
I mean, it was good. It was good money.
And how long did you work there for?
12 months or so, and you just do different things. And
so the lowest job was the one who was in like the first stage.
The slaughter room, yeah. And the guys that would sweep up the guts. And and this is nothing against people that work at meatworks, but I feel like anyone with a bit of brains and work ethic could have been the manager within about 3 weeks.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
It was a lot of people that was their lot in life, which is fine, but
I would struggle to work.
I could not do it.
I was trying to be like a while back. I was like, well, if you eat it, you got to be able to see the process. So that's why I bought Brett's crazy. I bought a deer hunting license because I was going to go shoot a deer myself and learn how to skin it. Because I was like, if you do it,
totally, I respect that.
You do it or you don't do it. So then if you don't do it, then you don't fucking eat meat. If you do, then you like have some respect for the process of it, because it is a fucking, we just like eat chicken nuggets like it's nothing, but that's a fucking animal,
Did you shoot a deer?
No, COVID happened and I wasn't allowed to leave, but I still got the deer tags.
That's because well, do you know Brady has like a bag next to his door? I'm obsessed. Like in case, what do you call it? Your doomsday bag?
No, it's called a go bag.
It's called a go bag. Have you heard of these?
No,
you've never heard of a go bag.
No. So in case zombies come, he's ready to go.
You've got a bag. There's a big community of people like me. If something's fucked, I grab a bag. I can live in the fucking forest for like 2 weeks. But I live in CBD Melbourne. I'd have to get the train out there as well. You know what I mean?
I'm sure.
Tap on, tap off.
I'm sure you could just wander around the botanical gardens or something.
Yeah, with your deer hunting gun.
I'm very aware how impractical it all is.
My dad used to work in an abattoir, and he was. That probably wouldn't surprise you, Brady. Brady met my dad when we went to Coolaman.
He fucking roasted me twice. And I didn't even know it.
He's pretty rough.
But he was like, good on you, Perth wanker. And I was like, what?
Nice guy.
Okay, yeah, great. No,
I forgot. I don't think I warned you enough about my dad before I.
No, like when he said that, I was like, does he hate? Oh no, he's got a good sense of humour.
Yeah. He's anyway, I can't remember if I've told this on the podcast before, but once my little brother and his friend Dane McKenzie came, we all went to this farm where Dad was working, and Dad got a pig. Like, it was like, Simon, Dane, look over here. And they would have been 5. They kind of looked over and they were like, oh, a pig. And we lived in, like Dane and Simon, we lived in Canberra. Like we weren't used to farm stuff. So we were like, oh, pig. And Dad just slit its throat and then turned it over, got the testicles, cut open his testicles, threw one ball at Simon, one ball at Dane.
Jeez,
isn't that insane?
As you said, great sense of humour.
Fuck, get this gun on the gala. He is killing, dude. He is killing.
It was really. I think it was like, it's the way of life.
Yeah,
boys.
yeah.
I mean, the testicle bit probably wasn't.
Wasn't.
When we were in Vietnam, we stayed at a homestay, and because I was like, and you could pick the vegetables, you cook it all, and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, what do you want tonight, chicken or pork? And me and my partner at the time were like, oh, we maybe pork, crash. She goes, oh yeah, no worries, and just walked over the big and went, yoink,
no,
right, and just let it bleed out. And I was like, okay.
I meant to say chicken.
Yeah. Whoopsie.
Put that in the bin. So is that your worst job? That's got to be pretty bad.
It'd be out there. I've done fruit picking. So when I finished school, I actually...
God, you do some really shit jobs.
Yeah. Well, when I...
okay. Do you need some money? This isn't paid, by the way.
What the... when I finished high school, again, I didn't excel and I wanted to get some money quickly to go back overseas. I graduated from high school. It was meant to in Canada as an exchange student, but a week in, 2 days into my school year, and I was there for 12 months. I got called to the office, and they said, "Tom, we are so sorry, but it turns out the years or the schooling doesn't no longer aligns with the Australian schooling system. So this year is going to count for jack shit. So we can basically, so you
can stamp these bags.
So you can,
you
can go home. You've got 2 options. You can go home now, or you can stay here for the year, but it's not going to count, and you're going to have to go back and do the second half of year 11 and year 12 when you get home. And I just landed in Canada, and I was young, and I was like, let's just write the year off. And I quit every single subject. They made me do year 12 math and year 12 English, basic.
Yeah. Looks like you should have focused on fucking English, mate. Yeah.
And I took up, so it was a senior high school. So I started year 10, 11, 12 gym, year 10, 11, 12 PE, and I was basically a pro athlete for 12 months. I've never had I had the absolute time of my life. Just
it didn't count for anything.
Didn't
so
count
when
for
like a test
developed
came
a drinking
around,
problem, a drug
year
addiction.
11?
I was basically addicted to magic mushrooms.
in year 11?
I've never heard of anyone getting addicted to magic mushrooms. They don't have any addictive qualities. You just wanted to get fucked up.
I just enjoyed them. Yeah.
Wow. And so you were there for a whole year, and then when you came back, you just said, I'm not doing year 12.
Oh, no, I did do it, but all my mates, all my year, that all left. So and then by then I was 18. And so I was going out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night while I'm in year 12. So, yeah, needless to say, year 12 wasn't great. We used to go, Thursday nights were big in Albury. We used to go straight from the club to school. not a word of a lie.
Oh.
And we,
How are they checking your ID or what?
And we used to be covered in like vodka raspberry. Our feet would be sticky.
You would have reeked of ciggies. Or you would have reeked anyway.
Yeah,
but you would have
had a plastic shirt on again, actually. Fuck the stinky kids here.
put your tambourine down, Tom.
Yeah. Sometimes we'd have a black eye or something. Some older bloke had.
Oh, because this is the days when everyone could smoke inside.
Stamps. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you would have.
We
The teachers would have been like,
yuck. We'd be throwing up. Sometimes we'd sleep out in the oval and then go just walk into class. It was appalling.
I've met your mum. This doesn't strike me as something that she would be like, yeah, that's fine.
I used to
How did you get away with that?
I used to think my parents were strict. And I look back now, they did not. And it was a stage where, when I left on student exchange when I left, I had a very close family. And I still do. But when I was away, my family fell apart, and I was
you were the glue.
I was unaware of this.
Oh,
and,
no.
So it was before social media and all this sort of stuff. So we used to have to write each other letters, and I was only allowed to call them once every 2 months. And Mum considered coming over.
Jail.
Yeah. So now,
now
now
you went in prison. Had a lot of court, a lot of sports. It's called yard time, brother.
It was full on. So nowadays, if you're an exchange student, you'd see what your friends are doing every minute on social media, but I was completely off the grid. I couldn't look up footy scores. Sure. My dad used to send me over the cutouts of the local paper, and that's all I'd know how my local team was going.
Days.
And then I came home, arrived, had a big party. The next morning, parents sat me down and said, "Yeah, the family was all." So there was a bit of that. Was why there was probably a lack of discipline through. Just a early stage.
When you say your family,
where's Mum? Anyway, that's another chat.
Doesn't matter. She's in Wodonga now. So your parents split up. You're saying
they split up. Yeah.
You're the youngest, and you've got how many?
I've got one other younger sister.
Oh, you're one of how many?
5?
So
it's a complicated family, but but I've got four sisters.
4 sisters,
three that I grew up with. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so the younger one is the new one, is the one that you grew up with?
Yeah.
Okay. One that you grew up with.
2 older. Who are twins, Tyler and Christy, yeah. They're all, and we are all very close. And with the other one, yeah.
That's nice.
So as I said.
So you weren't even the youngest, because I reckon by the time you get to the youngest, you kind of go, I don't, like the rules. I knew that's what my mum did. She was like, I can't be bothered with rules anymore.
Like,
You're fine.
I think about Mum and Dad just let us used to ride the BMX bikes down the creek, which was like 20 minutes away, and then we wouldn't see him for fucking 8 hours. We knew roughly 6 o'clock was dinner. Yep. So they just wouldn't know where we were for 8 hours, and we were fucking around, lighting fires, reading pornos in the bush and shit, fucking living like kings. And then you just come home like muddy, dirty, and like got in a fight, and they're like, oh yeah. Here's dinner.
Yeah.
Now fuck off again. Dad used to lock the door. Like, don't come back for a couple of hours.
Well, I think country towns have lost their innocence. There's no doubt about it. But back then, if we were camping, it was just basically we said we were camping and we walked or left the house with a pillow or a sleeping bag, we weren't expected home for 48 hours. So we could be out doing anything. It was
dying.
Yeah.
Actually,
It was So there wasn't a lot of discipline, I didn't think. But
and so where did your mum think you were on the Thursday night?
Oh, at
the club.
Well, she was there as well. She saw me.
She loved it.
I was cutting shapes.
Yes. They by that stage they were well aware that I was going out. And
Did you have a fake ID or anything?
Well, in year 12 I was 18.
Oh, because you kept back a year. That's I got a fake one when in year, I think it was 10. That this company came around. And it was called Student Edge, and it was a full photo ID, and it looked like a fucking driver's license. But on the back, it had like 10% off at McDonald's and shit. So me and my mates were like, fuck, I reckon we can get away with this. We just said we're like born in 1980, fucking 87, so what? We said we're born in like fucking 80. How does it do? Go down 85 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they didn't check, printed them, and then we were like, let's see if we can go to the Como. Showed it at the Como, like, yeah, come in. We're like, fuck, yes. It's got fucking annihilated.
Yeah,
great.
great.
I don't know whether it was because we played footy for the main team in town, but we were drinking very heavily at sort of 15, 16, and we would just openly be drinking in behind the goals all day, and then every Saturday, and then we'd just go out. We never got ID.
Yeah.
There was a place in the main street of Wodonga that you'd go up the Turmo, and we'd go. They'd go, have you got ID? And they'd go, left in the car. And we were like 15, 16. and they would just go and just pull the curtain down. And there'd be 30 of us in there drinking. And the bottle shop was, we used to ride our BMXs to the bottle shop in full school uniform and
training wheels.
And the guy would help put our slabs in the
your cane baskets at the front of your bike.
With the
in
flour,
our
of
school
course.
bag. And they'd be like,
school bag.
well, maybe if you put your readers in his bag and then we could put the slabs.
Get that fucking abacus out of there, boys. That's not going to help anything.
And it was I won't say his name, but it was quite a well-known AFL footballer who ran the
pub.
Who ran the bottle shop. And he did not give two shits.
Yeah.
He would sell to a toddler.
Yeah.
As long as the money was real.
Opening up the bottle. There you go, mate. A little nip of vodka. That'll get through the day.
But plenty of crazy jobs. There was the fruit picking. That was
The fruit picking sucks because a mate told me he did bananas and apparently like rats live in the banana, like the chunk of it. So as soon as you cut it, just rat piss falls on you and you just rat piss all day in 40-degree tropical heat.
Yeah. Oh, it's
they'd
it's a
stink, but you
crazy
already
world.
stink, so
Yeah,
that's
I
fine.
already stink.
What did you pick?
So I finished school. Wanted to get money to go back to Canada.
Did you have a sweetheart over there?
I did have a sweetheart over there, but
Her name was Mushrooms.
wanted to go back and get on the mushrooms. I've got a mushroom story.
Oh, perfect.
Do you want a mushroom story?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
brother.
so anyway, used mushrooms very regularly in Canada because the drinking age was 19 and they were so strict on drinking. And I'd come from somewhere where drinking was very open.
Teachers
the
were giving
drinking.
it to you. Yeah.
So and it was a great example of why you shouldn't be too strict with kids because you weren't allowed to drink till 19 and they were so strict and the parents were still strict. 18-year-olds, were sneaking beers. So because of that, obviously the underworld starts and so it was drugs. And but we would buy drinks from bottle shops and drink them in parks and then have magic mushrooms. And that's why I still don't mind a warm beer. It was illegal to sell takeaway cold beer in Canada. So we would have to have warm beers. Obviously didn't have a fridge in a park. So we just sit there drinking warm beer and I'll quite happily drink a warm beer. I've got a bit of a taste for it. So
look at this fancy man.
Look at old fancy
very
pants
good.
there with
What
his
a
Been in the
useful
back seat of
skill.
the car for 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll take that off your hand, champ.
So anyway, and we would buy mushrooms off a dealer. You'd get a little 1 gram, happy days, have the time of our life. Every now and again, someone would have a bit of a freak out, but it was all
Like the cow in the abattoir.
It was all pretty good. As our tolerance built towards the end, would have a couple of grams or split the 2nd gram. And anyway, so I've gone back to Australia, telling all my mates, these mushrooms, best things in the world. And my good mate Jeff from Canada came over backpacking around Australia and used our house as a bit of a hub. So he'd come and stay and then backpack around, get work, come back every couple of months. Anyway, one time he was down Ocean Road, did a trip, came back to Wodonga and had a garbage bag of mushrooms that it was if that's a gram, there were 1,000 grams.
Oh my
in this.
God.
Like it was unbelievable. So he said there was a place down on the Ocean Road where it was a free for all, and the locals just said this is it. So he come and I was like,
It's a kilo of mushrooms, yeah.
So I'm halfway through year 12 at this stage. It was a Wednesday, it was a Tuesday night because I remember we'd been to footy training. Said to all the boys, I got some mushrooms. So no one else had ever tried them before, and a mate's parents were away for about 6 months, and so we all went around there, about 12 of us, and got on the mushrooms. But over there, we had someone weighing them up for us, and there was they knew what they were doing, and now I know that there's different bits that are different strengths, and we were eating these things like it was our last day on earth, and
no,
Final meal, boys. Have a handful.
so
It sounds stressful.
so
already.
at a guess would have had 6 or 7, 8 grams each, and so we're sitting around, and then it started to hit us, and we're going, oh yeah, yep, this is it, boys. This is what it's talking about. Yeah, how good's this? Oh shit, and it just kept going and going, and it was basically a mental asylum. That we couldn't get out of the house. Like we, and I had one mate that was following me around, and he obviously. I don't know. We're all going on our own little crazy journey. But every time I'd turn around, he'd just be looking at me, and it was freaking me the fuck out. So, and then
this is
and then
your fault.
and then I developed. Well, no, I didn't develop at all, but I had these things in my head. Well, I thought I had 3 red lights on the side, and I still amazingly remember it quite clearly.
Yeah,
and they were
sounds traumatic,
and they were
mate.
my lifespan, and they were, and they were. These things were on the blink, and I was down to about 1.5. So I've just run home and told I was staying at my dad's, and I just wake him up. You know, it's Tuesday night. It's 1 a.m. Dad, he goes, I'm fucked. I said, I'm fucked. I'm on mushrooms. I'm all this, and he said, he didn't know what to do.
Your mate's still there, followed you home. Fuck off, mate. It's not your dad.
So and then he goes, well, just lay down, and he. Yeah, it was 90s or whatever. It was a waterbed, and I've just laid in this waterbed, and I'm just screaming, and like I was on another planet. So I said, well, we've obviously got to take you to hospital. So we're going to the hospital, and then he said, maybe a mate, and I won't say his name, a mate, his mum's a nurse, lives just around the corner. Let's go and see if let's go see his mum and see what she thinks before we go to the hospital.
Let's go ruin her night.
Town, small town. Maybe we don't want.
Okay.
We don't want to take the kid bloody ODing on a Tuesday night.
No. Not good PR.
Not good.
So whose house are they ever in? Your mum's house?
No, it was a friend's house.
And are they still there losing their
minds?
minds? Off to hospital?
I'd found a way out through a crack in the door, and I was, mate, they're still running around. The joint's going crazy.
Let a grenade off and went, see ya.
Yeah.
Dad's got to take me to the hospital.
Forgot to tell you, boys. Mushrooms do have a bad side. If you have to. So it's crazy time back there. And what I didn't put 2 and 2 together, which I should have. So that guy following me around was here. That's whose house we were going to. It's his mum's was the nurse. So he wasn't home yet. So we've walked into the house, and she's amazing, and she had the the little torch in my eyes, and I'm just freaking out, and the little brothers are looking around.
And can you still see your lifespan?
But by then I think everything had calmed down a bit, but I was still, I'd look at a painting and it was like, what the fuck are you looking at? And I was like, it was just, I was still going crazy. And then,
that's terrifying.
And then while we're doing this, the front doors come open. It's my mate getting home, and so he thinks he's getting ready to tiptoe in because he's having a freak out. You can just sneak in. No one will know I'm here. So he's walked in. I'm standing there with my dad and my and his parents. We've looked at him, and his dad goes, "Suppose you're on mushrooms too?" And he just goes. And just ran, just bolted down the street. And he tells the story that he was sitting in bed that night. Like we were fucked for days. Days. We weren't right for days. My dad made me go to school the next day. And
this is what we've been in line.
And
bit of math.
And it was Oh, we were just like we were a mess. We met up at the canteen before school, and we're like, we shouldn't be here. Like we're in a state of.
Is this permanent?
So because it would feel permanent.
Yeah,
it does feel permanent when you're on a bad trip, and so things would have been moving.
Oh, we were.
Did you say to the teacher, "I'm having a bad time right now"?
No, I think it was probably like, oh, finally the boys have shut up. Like
Just staring at the
most
ceiling.
attention they've paid ever. But my mate, our bodies were so fucked. Our brain. My mate said he was lying in bed, looking at the roof, and he had he just pissed himself. He didn't even know he was, and he just pissed himself. And then he looked down and he said, and don't use this as a promo, and he said he just looked down and he said he just ejaculated. Like his brain was so mixing just shooting signatures and shit.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
Brain's just trying to help out. How about if I make you ejaculate? Will that help?
Well, normally a cum does fix most problems. So,
but it was like his body was trying to get rid of everything in him.
Yeah.
Just didn't,
it was nuts. But my dad went around and he went to the house and flushed all the drugs. But
have you got tad mushrooms?
Handful came back.
Would come down his leg. Now, did you have you ever done them again?
You got to get back on the bike.
Yeah,
but not to that extent. But my poor mate from Canada, because it was about 5 a.m. and he came home and he was obviously with everything going on in his head as well. He thought he'd killed off half of Wodonga, and he was just. He goes, I'm so sorry. I'll go home, and he was getting all these bags, and I said, mate, it's fine. And once the dust settled, it was all okay. But it was a wild.
Was your dad
night.
cross with you?
No.
Was anyone cross with your mate?
No.
No one was cross with anyone.
Everyone brought it on themselves.
Well, your friend should probably have been cross with you because you really put him in the shit. You went to his house. You really fucked him over.
I didn't even put the two together. Like I was in that bad a state of mind.
I've only been there once on the edibles, and I was like, I need to call an ambulance.
Yeah, it's horrible. I had one.
Fucked.
I was at Meredith, Golden Plains, and it was acid. God, I wonder who cares. Anyway, and we'd only done it a few times. This is all my mates. We'd only done it before, but we were on tiny little bits of paper where you can cut it up. You can just have a quarter or whatever.
And then, of course, you're like, I have twice as much. And it'll be fine.
Someone had organised it. We were so excited because we'd only had beautiful experiences on it. We were like, it's so much fun. And there was one of our mates. She'd never done it before. And we were like, oh, mate, you're going to love it. And she was like, okay, cool. All right. And she was a bit nervous. And we're like, don't be nervous. It's only fun. Yeah. She was like, okay. And someone got them out, and they were on tiny teddies, so that someone had put the drop on the tiny teddy, so you couldn't break it up. You could you didn't know where the drop was. You just like, where is it? So you had to eat the whole thing. And we're like, we're all together. It's sun shining. What could go wrong? We all had it. It was but I don't know how time worked, but it was like half an hour later we were like, this is awesome. But like you said, you just keep going up and you're going, okay, like a roller coaster. You're like, okay, you probably go down now, but you just keep going. You're like, this isn't. And we all went, it was waves. We all had exactly the same experience, all in different times though. The waves never kind of went together. It would be this wave of like feeling awesome. And then like moments later, it'd be this wave of dread and you're like, oh no. And then there would be this wave of pure fear. Like you'd be nervous something was happening, and then you go, fuck, something is happening. I just can't work out what it is. Yeah. And so everyone, and then the wave of elation would come, and you'd go, oh my God, I'm okay, I'm all right. So everyone was like laughing, crying, hiding. It was
I've never done hallucinogenics for that reason. They freak me the fuck out. Besides like weed, but fucking
we never did it. I don't know if anyone else, but I was like, I'm never doing that again.
So years later, I went to play footy in Griffith, and I went to Griffith for a year, and they gave me this. There was a guy who'd been at the club, so I was like 19, and there was a guy at the club who was an elder statesman, legend of the club. He just lived up from where I was living. They put me in a house with another couple of footballers playing footy there, and he sort of said that they sort of took me under their wing. So they had me around on a Sunday for a roast. Anyway, I was just sitting around the table, just him and his wife, and they pulled out a bong, and I've never been a pot smoker just because I've loved sport and stuff, and I've just never liked smoking, and I thought, and I was a bit nervous, had the bong, and I was back to where I was on the mushies with one cone, and it was horrible, and
it was just marijuana.
It was just marijuana.
So something
flipped you back in.
It's flipped me back in, and I remember I had to leave the car there. They drove me home. I couldn't eat. I couldn't.
Fuck, who's this
I
soft
could.
guy?
Oh, that would have
Full
been
Cadbury. Like, we gave him a bloody
Jesus.
joint. Fuck, he's had a shandies on the ground.
And I was a mess. Yeah.
And did you know them well enough to be like?
Oh, no, it was the first time. Like, I hardly even knew. It was terrible.
I was in the Gold Coast, and a guy had a vape, and I'd stopped smoking at the time. This guy, of course, real estate fucking agent, who had on his finger, real estate agents in Gold Coast, different breed. On his finger, he had on the side, it said "send it," and I said, "What's that for?" He goes, "When I'm at the pub, I'm fucking sending it, and then when I see the cops, I'm sending it." And then he goes, "Yeah," and then when I'm riding my missus and she's cowgirl, I fucking send it. And I was like, all right. And she was standing right there. I was like, too much information. Yeah. Anyway, great. Had his vape.
We've been looking to someone to sell our house through. You seem like the. You seem like our kind of guy.
Now, what interest rates do you offer, sir? Can I get the guy with Send It, who's just said he's put it into his missus' butthole? That's the guy for me. But to be honest, he'll probably be able to sell on the Gold Coast. Anyway, so he gives, can I have a bit of that vape? And I yank it, and I was like, oh, there's not fucking much there. And I go again, he goes, whoa, wouldn't have done that. I was like, what? And he goes, I was like, it's just nicotine. He's like, nah, man.
Well, no.
That's pure THC oil. And I was like, see, I'm fine with all that stuff. Like, I had 2 big yanks. He's like, oh, well, enjoy. And I was like, I'll be fine. Got in the car, Dalton Whiskey's driving. I'm like, oh, okay, this is fucking awful. I'm like having a full freak out. He's talking to me. I don't respond to him for an hour. And he's asking me questions, and I'm like, I can't answer. And he's like, he's awkward, like, why isn't he responding? And I was like, long as nothing, I just want to get to bed. Long as nothing weird happens when I get into the house, it's going to be fine. I get back to the place. I open the door. I'm staying at a mate's house. He's got a girl over who has, like, nothing weird happens, has the biggest Alaskan Malamute in the world that looks like a wolf. And the wolf goes, ow! And I'll go, ah! And I was like, and then it fucking runs at me, and then it like licks me. I was like, I said a full I just ran into the room, closed the door, and then I was like, was there a wolf in here? Yes. I was like, oh no, it's just an Alaskan Malamute. I was like, what the fuck, man? And I was fucking, my brain was ruined for 3 days after.
Well, that's worst case scenario, because at least ours were on our terms. We'd prepared everything.
Yeah.
But for just going about your day and all of a sudden you're off chops. Yeah. Like just with no prepper.
I had my taxes to do the next day. I was fucked. All right, we've got to leave it there. Tom, have you got anything amazing you'd like to plug for us at the moment?
Can we plug other podcasts?
Yes, of course you can.
Please.
Okay. Doing the Good Banter podcast with Evan Hocking, which is going well. Plenty of gigs coming up. Get on the socials. I've been on TikTok. Yeah, I've been on TikTok.
Fuck, Dad's here.
TikTok for about 4 days. So get on that. Facebook, Instagram.
You put one video up and it's already gone viral.
I went
so
nuts,
well done.
But I'm not in it. So there's no point something going viral if you're not in it. Is it? Like
I don't know. No, I think that's fine.
But isn't it all about just the recognition and stuff? But if you're not in it, like the slab is going to go, people will go, oh, that's that slab I saw in Tom's video.
Yeah. It's your voice is in it, and it's an angelic voice.
No, I did the car ones, but now I flip it to myself at the end just so you see a little bit of the
look at my face. Remember this face.
I need sales. I'm broke. What are you on the socials, Tom?
The name?
Yeah.
Tom Siegart, Suburban Footballer Comedy.
There you go.
I think.
There you go. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. If you're not already on the Patreon, make sure you jump on it. There's new content every Friday. Until next time. Thanks, Tom. Cheers.
Bye.
I've been fired from a lot of places. I've been fired from so many places.
I went into the class one day, real bullets. Kill me.